Good morning, everyone. This is a female mulberry tree. This female was found on our property. My wife grabbed the little then small stick and put it in the ground, and it has grown into about I would say about an 8-foot sapling here. So today's the day we're going to put it into the ground. Now on our property we have a male mulberry tree, and it was odd that this female mulberry tree would appear. How do I know it's female? Easy, because she has fruit. So I was curious to know if a female mulberry tree can come from a male mulberry tree. Now, a female mulberry tree cannot come from a male mulberry tree, which tells me that the tree we have didn't come from this tree. So this is kind of what it looked like when we found it. This tree came from a branch. These are actual trees, as you can see. Let's a better look at one. But they came from a branch that fell from our mulberry tree here. So this is my garden in its current state. We just have tomatoes in the ground, but because I'm always back here, I've found pecans, I've found walnuts, I've found almonds in the hole. And when I was young, my dad used to tell me that the birds wanted to see more trees, and so they would bring things over, and they'd plant stuff because they wanted to see more trees. And I think he's absolutely right, because that mulberry tree that I have that we're about to plant didn't come from our mulberry tree. It came from a mulberry tree somewhere else. And I think our birdies, because it's like an oasis here. If you've watched and heard our videos, you can always see how the birds are always chirping around here. They're very happy to be here. So I think they want to see that female mulberry tree in the ground. So we're going to do that today. So being as our birds want to see more trees, and my kids love mulberries, we're going to get this tree and we're going to go put it in the ground right now. All right, everyone, so I have previously marked this X. I know you can barely see it, but there's an X right there. And that's where that tree's gonna go. As you can see, the tree kind of sits off to the side, but we're gonna deal with that. Anyway, so that's where it's gonna go. Let me start digging this hole. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a hole where this thing's gonna sit. So what I'm gonna do is sit that over there. It's about centered. And I'm gonna mark it on the outside. I wanna make sure I leave about 8 inches bigger than the pot that my tree is in, to make sure that I have plenty of room for what I'm gonna put in there. There it is. So now that it's marked, I just dig a hole. Don't throw your dirt all over the place. You want to make sure you make one nice little pile. All right, there you go. All right, guys, once your hole is made, you want to just double check if your whole pot fits in there, which this thing does, and fits pretty good. Look at that. Then that's going to fit just fine. So now that I've done that and I know that my tree's going to fit, the next step is to mix some compost in the dirt. All right, so once your hole is made, now what you want to do is you want to mix something in with your dirt, because you saw how compact that dirt was. So I'm just going to mix some. I've had this stuff for a while. Doesn't have to be organic. You just want some kind of material in there that will keep that dirt from compacting all over again, and it'll let your trees, the roots from your trees, start to take off a little bit. Once it starts to take off, this is a mulberry tree. These have giant roots, so as long as we give it a chance to start taking off, it'll start breaking through that really hard ground. So you don't have to do much more than we've done now. So what I do is I'll take some of this. All right, I'll take some of this, I'll dump it in the hole. All right, and then break that up a little bit. All right, then I'll take about the same amount of dirt and I'll mix that. So real easy. As you can see, that's a pretty good mix. If you look at the color of that compared to the color of this, it's about a 50-50 blend, and that's what you want. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a little bit of that dirt that I pulled out of the tree, try to break up any bigger clumps. All right, and now I'll dump about the same amount of my mix here, and then I'll start mixing. I'm looking for about a 50-50 mix. So just for reference, here's what the dirt I pulled out looks like, and here's what it looks like now. And this is what you're going for. You want a nice mix where, again, it'll be fluffy and it'll help your tree get established quickly. All right, so here's a step that I do that I don't see a lot of people doing. I like to put water in that hole already, because if you wait till afterwards, what ends up happening is it takes time for that water to get in there. But right now, when you put it in there, it'll instantly start to go to the roots of the plant, and it won't go into that much shock from being transplanted. Once I put my dirt in there, I already checked my tree. It needs a little bit more dirt so it'll be up at the level I want it to be. So just adjust your height on your tree, and again, always check with the pot, and that looks pretty good. I'll lift it up a little more, but I want it to come up a little bit higher than it is now. Now that I have my hole the right height, now it's time to take my tree out. And what I'll do to do that, so I'll kind of lean it to the side a little bit. And this tree has been here for a while, so it shouldn't do any damage. And I'll kind of slide it out. Always support the bottom of your tree here, and there you have it. Just like that. All right. And as you can tell, it's got a bend in it, and that's no problem. What we'll simply do is we'll put some stakes in to hold this guy up. So once he's in the ground, I'll give him another shot of water before I put my stuff in there. So then what I do is I'll fill the tree here with more water. All right. So what that does is that's going to help the roots get nice and soaked right away. There will be no shock to the tree, and this tree will take a lot quicker than it normally would. All right, so once you've done that, again, now you're going to fill up your hole to where the level it used to be. All right, everyone. So once that's done, okay, we'll water one more time. And with the rest of the dirt here, I like to make a little ridge around the tree. All right, once your berm is complete, fill this guy up with water. And water him every day until you start to see new growth coming out, okay? Okay, so the next thing we gotta do is we gotta straighten our tree up. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna put a couple of these T-posts in, one on each side, and we're gonna tie them up to straighten them out. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little bit of rope. This is special for tying trees, but if I was to just put this around the tree with all the wearing on it, it'll damage my tree. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a piece of drip hose. All right, I'm going to say about 2 feet. Okay, you can do a little more if you want to, but you cut that. Okay, you slide your rope through it, okay, and you're going to bend it right in the middle. So that's about halfway. No, it's not. That's about halfway. Good enough. Then what you'll do is you'll put this around your tree. All right, and now you've made you put them right where you want them, nice and straight, and now you've made a little something for your tree. That way it can grow straight. After it grows up a little bit, you'll see that it's not so sensitive to the wind, but you don't want them growing crooked because it takes a lot more than a little bit of rope and some drip hose to straighten them back out again. So we'll do that one on that side, then we'll do the same on the other side. Now the main post that you want is the one where the wind blows. So we always say that the wind blows from the north, but it actually blows from the north, but just slightly from the west. So it's not quite northwest, it's just a little closer to the north, okay? So I think they would call that north-northwest. So you always want to make sure that you put one of these posts just like this, okay, on that particular side. And my wind comes like this towards this tree, and what that wind does is that'll make your tree kind of go that way. But this is going to help keep it right where you want it so it doesn't move and it grows nice and straight. Now you repeat the process with the rope. Again, we're going to cut about a 2-foot piece. All right, then we bend it right in the middle somehow. Better than the other one. Do the same thing. Only what I'm going to do is I'm going to interlock them, see? So they don't slide. Now you've cinched your tree. So it will not move no matter where the wind comes from. It can come this way, this way, this way, or this way, and this tree is going to be nice and straight. A couple overhand knots, and there you go. Folks, this is how I put a tree in. Again, this is a female mulberry tree. We'll be back in a couple of days so you can see how this thing's progressing, okay? See you in a couple of days. All right, everyone, it's about 3 days later. And as you can see, it's pretty windy. Look what it's doing to the pear tree. That tree has blight, fire blight. Here's my fig tree. So you can see that the wind's coming pretty good. There's my neighbor's trees over there. So the wind is kind of rocking and rolling out here. But even though it's windy and the wind is going pretty good, there's our little tree that we put in the other day. And you can see that when you secure a tree, that even though it's going to get blown around, especially the canopy up here, but that bottom of that tree is very steady and it's not going anywhere. It's taking pretty good, as you can see. I got new growth coming at the top of here. So I think we have successfully transplanted this mulberry tree. Well, folks, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and as always, thank you for watching.